Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the back office teardown lab. You know Peter Smith from ZX Renew. He sent in some fantastic things over the years and actually really helped me out on some recent projects. Put on the back burner are these Atari ST cartridges he lent me, and I will get round to them at some point here. Thank you so much for being patient lending them to me. But these are not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about what he sent me in this box. This is a brand new joystick that he's selling on his website, and they look absolutely gorgeous. Oh my word, absolutely gorgeous. Look at that, really well packed. That's super well packed. I'm going to keep some of this packaging actually, because this is the sort of thing that you can wrap in tinfoil and use to send ICs. But look at this joystick. It's a modern retro joystick, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So that means it's a modern joystick in that it's recently made with recent components, but has the old style connector so that you can plug it into your retro console, such as your Commodore 64. It says here Retro Radionics ArcadeR. Look at that, the Retro Radionics ArcadeR. And first things first, it's actually pretty heavy, and I can see already through the clear plastic it's sporting an arcade style, you know, a Sanwa style microswitch assembly. And then looking at the top, that's going into a adapter board, and I can see in there it says C64 Atari. So this is pretty interesting. Let's pop this on first. Let's assemble it, and then we can disassemble it and really see what it's all about. The first thing I'd like to cover are the suction cups on the bottom, because check this out. They are super good. Do you remember in the old days you used to have to lick them and stick them on? I don't know what's happened to rubber technologies in the last 20, 30 years, but they're much better. Oh my word, this is phenomenal. This is literally the best joystick I've ever had. I mean, we're all used to I think this is based on the QuickJoy or something similar layout. The last one I had was on this Commodore 64 TV system type thing, and it was awful. But my word, you can hear that. This is giving you the Neo Geo. This is the Neo Geo of retro joysticks. This is fantastic. Right, let's put this aside. In order to play with the joystick and fiddle around with its functionality, I've got here my Spectra Video joystick tester, which you might have seen in a previous video where I'd actually modified this retro device to use, boom, an internal lithium cell and provide power bank capability. Isn't that cute? Now this does provide a 5-volt power out, so this will be able to power the joystick's functionality, and we can test it at the same time without me having to rig up a retro computer. So I'm going to plug it in right now. There we go, it is actually plugged in. And interestingly enough though, this Spectra Video joystick tester is based on a QuickJoy Junior chassis. So they've modified some plastics and made this tester, which is kind of cool and useful for our purpose. So something of note as well, rubber suction cups, always popular back in day. Up, down, left, right, yes. Oh my word. If you compare this to an Atari 2600, you just don't get that. You're kind of pushing on the stick. This sometimes lights, sometimes doesn't. And that's why when you used to have those set up with your old computers, they used to be so unresponsive. It wasn't the computer's fault, it's actually the joystick's fault. And you can see, look at that, if you were playing Daley Thompson. Now let's try the fire. Why aren't we seeing a fire button? Oh, look at that. It's got auto fire. That's why it needs a 5-volt power. We've got this left button here, seems to be controlling the auto fire capability. So button in, permanently on. Oh my god, this will be excellent for an R-Type game. Let's see what the right button does. So that's doing nothing right now, but pitch that. Why are we not seeing that? Is this configured for a 2-button control, I wonder? Maybe when we take the lid off that will make more sense, but I can tell right away. You know, as soon as you get a micro switched joystick, you know it's going to be excellent to use. I generally try to avoid showing you the unscrewing parts anymore. I know some of you like really long videos, but YouTube is punishing me for the really long videos. But my word, I wanted to show you this because the plastics are incredible. I've never seen such strong plastics in a joystick. You can even see there, it's actually threaded right into this, and I'm not sure what it is, if it's some sort of polycard, but it's definitely not the usual flimsy ABS. These screws have got some bite in them. Better crank our knob, otherwise we ain't going nowhere. It's all loosened, and as you can see, I've removed my knob end from the shaft. So inside you can pop it open and you'll see a standard arcade style base. So that allows you to probably buy the different gates here to allow you to change the way the joystick works depending on the type of games you're playing. I know that's something in the arcade circles where they have different gates, and that's this yellow portion here. You can actually see the 4 joystick microswitches here arranged around the edge, and there's the actual actuators, and that's what you hear when you move the stick. And also the fire buttons themselves too are also microswitches, which is pleasant. If you recall, during testing, the right fire button wasn't doing anything, and that's because it's wired to a completely different port. In fact, looking at this, I think you have the paddle inputs. This might be wired up to the X or Y paddle input, and that's why you have a spare one here. So I don't know why they've done that as an could affect people, because really you only end up with one fire button. It's nice to have the 2 fire buttons, don't get me wrong, but in reality there are no games that use the second fire button. Let me show you something I think you could do with it. Now we've got 2 options. You could wire this button into the first fire button so that you have auto fire on both sides, and that's just what you want. Or if you're really keen, when you push up on the joystick, which actuates this micro switch here, you could quite easily take a wire from here and route that over to there, so that when you press this button, it is effectively pressing up on the joystick. You could do all sorts of things. You know, that's really going to be super helpful for you if you're on a playing Turrican or something like that on your Amiga or Atari ST and you want a separate dedicated jump button, or possibly Zool. Looking at the PCB, there are other things you can actually do to it as well. You have the adjuster here for the auto fire rate, which is cool. I believe this, which appeared to be doing nothing for us, is actually a secondary auto fire for that button that we're not using right now. I've also noticed that there's a Commodore 64 and Atari mode, and if I'm not mistaken, these change the way the pins are configured for power. And there is a solder bridge, which you might not like if you want to jump between your games systems. So what you can do is fit a pin header so that you can actually adjust that yourself. In fact, I'm going to do that now. Looking at the plastics, you could actually fit this on the top or the bottom. I might just fit it on the bottom on mine, because in the future I think I might Dremel a little area here so I can just adjust that. You definitely don't want to keep this there, otherwise you're going to get amazingly shorted joystick. If you look on the internet, you can actually find longer versions of these where they have a longer pull tab, and that will fit straight in there and allow you to make that adjustment. That seems to be good. Now we can position this whichever way we want. As much as I love the idea of a second fire button, it's never going to get used. Not one piece of software I've ever used requires it. So what I'm going to do is change this so that when you press this button, it's going to actuate the up on the joystick, and if I push up there, you can see, and I'll hold that, it's actuating this bottom micro switch. So you have 2 options. You just have to move the wire onto these 2 tags. You'll see one there and one there, but I'm going to take the PCB out so we'll do a nice job of it. Like the other case screws, these are insanely tight. This is amazingly stiff, this joystick. This is a tough old beast. We can pop that off there. That's the mechanism right there. And you'll see, although this PCB has all these sets of connectors also on that, the 2 main ones for that micro switch are the 2 big dollops right there. You'll notice that the wire's not long enough, so we're just going to disconnect these. Those terminals really didn't want to come off, so the wire's been clipped from them. I'm just going to remove the heat shrink, and we're going to solder straight to the ends of them. I've pre-tinned the connections. All I need to do is just touch them with the soldering iron. And that's the first one. We'll do the second one. Lovely jubbly. And if you've got it, make sure you get some heat shrink on there. I don't think there's anything it's likely to short out to, but why not while you're at it? You can omit this stage, but I'm just doing it so it's easier to show you what I'm up to. But that's removing that ring. There is the adapter plate, which you can get. And this is the micro switch I'm interested in. But oh, look, they're all connected. Nice. So I'm going to flip it over, and you can see those are the 2 ports I want to solder to. It doesn't matter which way around because it's just a simple switch. It's taking a little bit more heat because it's connected to the body of the micro switch, so it's drawing that heat away. So just hold on there a little while longer than normal. And the second one. That's okay. And let's just reassemble it. And there's the final modification. So you can see when you press the button, it's the equivalent of you pressing up. Let's pop the knob on for testing, and while we've got it open, this is a really good opportunity for you to put a flathead screwdriver in here and tighten your knob, because otherwise you'll have to get pliers and put a firm grip on that shaft, and I'm always worried about damaging the shaft. Let's connect this all up. This one goes back in the bottom. This goes into the top receptacle. If anything, this joystick is very moddable, and you can see we've already modded it. It's just easy to mod. I suppose any joystick might be, but the problem with most joysticks, be it your Quick Joy or that kind of ilk, is that they're just crap. They're not worth modding. This one is the first joystick I think that's actually worth modifying. We are ready to test. So, up, down, left, right. That's pretty good. Fire, steady, and auto fire. Yes. Right thing doesn't do anything. Now, when we press this, see what happens. It's actuating up. Woohoo! Now we have fire and jump, technically. But I have to say, I'm not quite happy with it, but I don't think I'll do it now. I might re-engineer this button to actually switch this on and off. So when you actually have it in the right button goes up mode, it will disable the up on the built-in micro switch. That way, when you're playing a game, you don't have to be conscious that if you push up, it might just jump. So that way, it's totally as if it's a proper dedicated jump button. But apart from that, and maybe the inclusion of an external rotary auto-fire switch, I think we're done. I think it's perfect. I don't use auto-fire generally in games, so it's not really a concern for me. But I think that's something I will use a lot more. And the nice thing is, because I'm right-handed, of course, I'm normally playing like that. I won't accidentally hit it normally when I'm playing shooters. So there you go. Hopefully that's of some use to you. Please comment down below what you think of my modification. Is it a horrible hack or is it actually okay? And go over to Twitter at ZXRenew and say, yeah, I love the ArcadeR. It is absolutely great. Hopefully that's been of some use to you. Please like, share, subscribe, and as ever, thank you for watching.